Welcome and thanks for joining us for another episode of Code Girls on Air, a podcast exploring all things technology, female leadership, careers, education, and topics within the nonprofit sector. On this episode, we interviewed Pranjala, who is in product marketing at Applied Materials. So join Pranjala and me to hear more of her story. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us on Code Girls on Air today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, do you think you could start by introducing yourself and then telling us a little bit about your background and your career?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So, I'm Pranjala. I'm originally from India and I moved to the US in 2022 in the month of August. I moved here to get my master's in engineering management degree from Duke. I graduated in December 2023 and I currently work for Applied Materials in a product marketing pricing role. But I've never always been on the business side, so I'm an engineer. I got my undergraduate degree in electronics and communications engineering back in India. So, right after undergrad, I took a break for 2 years. I was trying to understand what am I really interested in. So, do I want to get PhD or do I want to go on the business side? So, I started my own business in that process where our startup helped tribal women achieve financial independence. So, we were training tribal women to produce bamboo products and we provided a platform for them to sell those products. So, that is what I was doing right after undergrad. And then I decided that I had to upskill myself and I came to Duke to pursue my master's degree. So that's about me.
Wow, that's awesome. So you didn't always want to go into business, but the engineering side. What made you want to go into engineering?
So I think it all started when I was in my 10th grade. So in India, it's like when you finish 10th grade for your 11th and 12th grade, you need to choose a path. You either take science, you take arts, or you take commerce. So commerce is the business side.
Okay.
So I had these options in front of me. Like, what do I do? Is it arts? Is it commerce or engineering? But I was someone who always enjoyed doing math and
Mhm.
I really enjoyed the physics aspect of science. So I knew that I wanted to do engineering. So because I was so much interested in maths and physics, and I was like, okay, I'm going to take up engineering. So, but what I wanted to major in engineering, I was able to understand that once I finished my 12th grade and got an admit from a university, right? So there were so many options, like there was computer science, there was electronics, and there was electrical engineering. And then I was someone, as I mentioned, who liked physics, and physics has a lot of semiconductor stuff in it. And I was someone who was impressed by the amount of impact that semiconductor had, and I wanted to get into that field. And that's why I decided that, okay, I'll choose electronics engineering in particular. So, in short, I love maths, I love semiconductors and physics, and that is why I'm here in engineering. So, yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. So, what would you say surprised you most when you started out in engineering and then even also made the shift to business?
So, one thing that surprised me was how helpful people are in the industry. So, as someone who's an engineer, I did not work in like a technical role before coming to engineering. So this is my first job. So I was running a business. Yes, so that's on the business side, but I never really worked on the engineering side. And as an engineer who was transitioning into business, it was so difficult for me. So I still remember my first day, I had a bunch of trainings and I was like, okay, wow. I'm so overwhelmed. I'm so confused because this is not what I've done. I've done
Right.
engineering. I'm more of a numbers person. I'm more of a circuit designing person. But this whole business concept was something new to me. Though I got my master's in it, I agree. But still, like, industry is so much different from what you study in business school. So I was so confused and I was lost. So what I was actually surprised was with the fact that there are people who are willing to help you out. Like I had a lot of worry thinking that okay, if I get into industry, I should be perfect. If I make a mistake or if I go around asking people for something, they might think that I'm stupid. So they would expect me to know this thing, right? Because I'm a business major and they would expect me to know this thing. But that is what I had in my mind. But people are not like that, right? Like my colleagues is so helpful. My mentor is so helpful. So any kind of stupid question that I had, I would just go to him and he would be like, no question is stupid. I'm here to help you out. So I was actually surprised by the fact that people are there in the company to just help you grow and to help you understand what you're doing, to help you transition perfectly into the industry from college. So as somebody who was new to business field, I think that was one of the greatest like assets that I was able to get within applied or within, I'm pretty sure any company would be the same. So I think that was one big surprise for me to see the amount of
Yeah,
people who are willing to help you out. Yeah, so that was my surprise.
that's definitely a good surprise in the scheme of things.
Yeah.
In your opinion, what's one personality trait or something that somebody would need to be successful, either in the startup industry or engineering?
So, okay. So I think the most important trait that one needs to have to be successful in engineering or startup or any career path, as a matter of fact, would be to be curious. So this is something that I have learned as a part of my experience. Like I've been with Applied Materials for around 7 months now. So I've learned that here and I've learned that at my startup as well. And this is an answer that a lot of, leaders like in executive positions give me the same answer when I ask them like, what is one personality trait that you think got you to this position in the industry? Because even I want to be there. So can you please tell me like what makes you different? And even they tell me the exact same answer, and I've experienced the exact same thing too. So being curious is extremely important to be successful. Like for example, I'm on the business side and I deal with a lot of electrical or electronic spare parts or engineering spare parts, right? So if I take an electronic chuck, so I might not know what an electronic chuck is. I still price the electronic chuck, but my curiosity made me go reach out to process engineers or engineers who do it and ask them like what exactly does e-chuck mean, because I want to learn. To be
Yeah,
able to be successful in any career field, you should know what's happening in and around. Like I price the spare part and I'm like, okay, I'm done with my job. No, that's not how it should be. So if I want to grow in my career, if I want to be a manager or a director or a vice president, I should know what's happening in the field, right? Like I should know what's happening in my domain. I should know what an e-chuck is and why exactly is it a differentiated part or a special part. So can other customers make it or not? So with that understanding, I'll be able not only be able to do my job better, but I'll also understand what's happening in the company. Like what is this or why are we pricing this? So to understand that why is extremely important, and you need curiosity for that. And my manager tells me the exact same thing, so she's telling me this since day one, like try to understand why are you doing what you're doing, like not just do it. So curiosity is definitely one thing that I would say like everybody should have if they're starting out and on the engineering side or on the startup side. And secondly, I would say attention to detail. Like, let's take engineering. So, I used to design circuits back in school.
okay.
So, a small mistake in a connection would ruin the whole circuit. It would literally ruin. So, it's like we would design the circuit on a software and then it would take hours together to like simulate it, right? To see how the circuit would behave if we send it for printing or to get it manufactured. So it would take a lot of time. So a small mistake, and you see that the currents are not matching, or if the voltage drop is not what you expected, or it's not like working properly, then you have spent a lot of time doing something that is not working, and it hurts. Trust me, it hurts because I've been there. It
I'm
hurts
sure.
quite a bit, and especially when you have a deadline coming up, it hurts a lot. So I would say be attentive and pay attention to little details. So that is important in engineering specifically. And even on the business side, I deal with a lot of data. I was working on a project that involved like around like 10,000 spare parts and I had to reprice them all. So, like, I had a lot of data in front of me, and there have been times where I have like lost track of what I was doing. I had to copy the data from one sheet to another sheet, and there itself I've made a lot of mistakes. Like, I could see that the numbers were not matching, and I had my mentor sit down with me and help me understand like where did I go wrong. So paying attention to detail is extremely important, and that is another trait that I would say that everybody should have if they're starting out in engineering specifically. Like that's extremely important on engineering side. Like yeah, business yes, but engineering it's extremely important. So I would say
Yeah.
that's another trait. So curiosity and paying like being very attentive. So these are two things that I would recommend. Yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely. And it will save time in the long run too.
Oh
So
yeah.
kind of switching gears now. Can you talk about what a day in your life looks like now and just kind of what you go through in your job on a daily basis?
Okay. So my job is product marketing, pricing. Specifically, I do pricing of all the spare parts and different services at Applied Materials. So just to give like an introduction about what services mean, just to put it out there. So I can just explain it by taking an analogy. So when you buy a car, you also get servicing with it, right? So that's how it works in electronics industry or equipment manufacturing industry as well. So Applied Materials manufactures equipments or tools that can help manufacture chips. So these chips are in turn put into your phones. So we come in the beginning. So we have the tools. So that tool manufactures chips. So chips go into your phone, your laptops, or anything like any electronic product that you can ever think of. So for these tools, so these are expensive tools, they cost in billions of dollars. So you cannot keep replacing the tools like once every 1 year or 2 years. So you would need active servicing, right? So it's like your warranty period, just like how you have it for a car. So I'm on the services side, so that's where I come in. I price the services for tools, and I also take care of the spare parts. So these tools have a lot of spare parts, like just like how cars have a lot of spare parts, right? So
Mhm.
these tools have spare parts, and I also price the spare parts as well. So this is what I do. So just to give an introduction. So on a day-to-day basis, I just come in and I try to see if there are any codes that are out for pricing. So if there are, I would go ahead and I would try to understand, what exactly is required of me for this particular code, because every business case is different. So I would
Yeah.
try to understand that and then price the code. And secondly, I interact a lot with different stakeholders. So my job requires that I talk to a lot of people from different departments. Like I work with product managers, I work with sales, I work with business development. So I usually have meetings during the day to try to understand like what's going on. Like for the spare parts, product managers are the engineering experts, so we go to them and we ask them like why exactly is the spare part a differentiated one, so what is the engineering spec to it, so something like that. So that's what I do. I price the quotes, I take a couple of meetings to understand the specification, and I go on with my work of making pricing decisions, like should this be priced at this price point, or should it be lesser, or should it be more, how does the market look like for this part, is there competition. So this is what I
Yeah.
do on a day-to-day basis. It's very dynamic, like not set.
Yeah. Right. It's not just this is this and this is
Yeah.
no, I get it. What would you say is your favorite part about what you
Yeah,
do?
okay. So I'm an extrovert. I love to talk to people. So I think the favorite part about my job would be the amount of collaboration that it has. So I work in a particular building within Applied Materials, and I literally work with everybody in the building. So I just met a bunch of people the other day, like during, like I think on my first day of work, and I thought, okay, we can be. I'm like, hey, we should be friends. We should grab lunch. And 2 months later, I realized that I'm actually working with them. They're helping me out. Like, so I like the amount of collaboration that this job has. Like I talk to everyone in my building, from product managers to sales to business development in this country, in Taiwan, in Korea. Like I talk to everyone, and this is the favorite part about my job. I love interacting with people, and talking to them and working with them and collaborating with them is something that I really like about in this job. And secondly, and lastly, I would say it's the amount of autonomy and the decision making that I have. So yes, right now I'm just starting out, and I still have like a lot of support system from my manager and my mentor to make pricing decision. I'm not there yet, but once I'm there, I really like how I can make my own pricing decision. So it's so meticulous. It's not like you just look at one thing. You look at a lot of different factors and you make the decision. So you are the owner of what of a particular account or a particular customer that you're working with. You're the owner. You make the pricing decision. To see the impact, the financial impact directly, is something that I really like about this job. So, in short, I like how collaborative it is, and I also like the amount of autonomy that I get here and the amount of impact that I get to see that I'm making. So, that's about it.
No, that's wonderful. So you're also a woman in the tech industry. Would you say have been some challenges you faced because of that, either in the US or in India? Can you kind of compare those?
So, as a woman in tech, I have not really seen a lot of differences because I just started off my career, but I might experience something in the future, but I just started out, but I've not really seen a lot of things that I would say would make a difference. But definitely what I've seen is there are not many women in our industry as there should be. Like when I was interning at KLA, like in a product marketing engineering role, so that was on the engineering side. So when I saw that there was not one woman in my team, so it was just me, like literally just me, and everybody it was very male dominated, and that's when I realized that semiconductor or even on the engineering side it's so much like male dominated. So even when I was interviewing for like my current like roles, like product marketing engineer roles in a bunch of companies, I've not had a single female interviewers. That means that I've not had any female managers. I've not seen any female managers, right? So when I interviewed for applied materials for this role, I had two female managers interview me, and I was so happy. So I told them that I'm so glad that I have a woman manager who's interviewing me, and she acknowledged that. And when I got the job, and I asked her, like, what is it like to be a woman in this industry? Because it's not at all like dominated by women. So what does it feel like? And she told me that I agree with what you said because my manager was in Korea for a long time and she moved to the US 2 years ago to start this role. So she told me that in Korea or in Asian countries, usually it's like it's engineering domain is male dominated, and women, you cannot find a lot of women in this field. So she took her own example and she told me that now she's a director. So she told me that she and somebody else, like the vice president, has a bunch of people reporting to them who are directors, and it's just two people who are senior directors who are reporting to him and who are women. That's it. Like just two people. So I brought this point out to one of my colleagues that applied, telling that there are just two women reporting. Like we need more women in this industry. So that is something that I've noticed, that this industry is male dominated. And I honestly am trying to understand why. Like why is this the case? So that is something that I've been working on, trying to understand why is it male dominated. Like but yeah, so honestly, I don't think I answered your question, but this is something that I've seen in the industry. So yeah.
That's great. Yeah, and that's something that Code Girls hopes to
Yeah.
combat. Get more girls into the STEM industry. What's some advice that you'd give to somebody starting out, even young girls starting out in STEM or thinking about it?
So I would say that in STEM, it would be amazing to have a mentor who's in the industry. So that has helped me a lot, like especially with respect to making my career choices. So, like for me at Duke, I was able to find a mentor easily because it was a grad school and we had a good alumni network. So, I reached out to someone who directly reports to a president at KLA. Like, KLA is again an equipment manufacturing company, so it's similar to Applied Materials. So I reached out to him, and he is a senior marketing director, and he is like my mentor. So I speak to him and I ask him, like, like what career path should I take or what should I do or something of that sort. So he's been a mentor for me. So having a mentor to in this, like if you want to pursue a career, be it in STEM or anything, like having a mentor is extremely important, and it becomes more important in STEM because it's a vast field. So you have computer science, you have like core electrical engineering, you have process engineering. So it's quite different. Like there are so many options out there. So I think think especially for girls, it's like these are high school girls, right? Like if I'm not wrong.
Middle school and high school. We actually start in fourth grade, so even
Middle school.
elementary.
Oh, that's amazing. So in that case, I would recommend like having a mentor, maybe not in the industry. Like industry is more like for, like grad school or undergrad school students, but I would say just have a mentor like from your school, like maybe a teacher or a career counselor or something. Just have a mentor, just talk to them and try to understand what your interests are, because they're quite young, they're still in middle school, they're just trying to figure out like what do we want to do or something like that. But I'm pretty sure that most of them want to get into STEM or engineering related field. So within engineering, what do you want to do? I would say have a mentor. So having a mentor is extremely important. So that is an advice that I would give to the girls, like have a mentor, and so that you don't hesitate to ask questions to someone. So there is, if you have a question, you have someone out there who's willing to help you out. So it can be a teacher, it can be your career counselor, or it can be your aunt or your uncle or a family friend. It can be anybody, but just have a mentor who can help you in understanding what are the different options out there, and who can help you answer the question. So I didn't have a mentor growing up in middle school or high school, and I wish I did, so that if I did, I think things would be different for me. So I didn't know a lot of things. So if I had somebody who would tell me that if you do this, this would be the consequence of that action. Or if you choose this, you have another option too. So you don't have to choose this. There are other things out there that you could do too. So I would say just get a mentor. It doesn't matter who it is. It can be your family friend, your parents, or like maybe your cousins or your teacher or your career counselor, but get a mentor. So that would be my advice.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. This was an amazing conversation.
Thanks for having me. I had so much fun talking to you.
So bad. As we begin the holiday season, we here at Code Girls United want to express our gratitude.
2024 has been a successful year for Code Girls, in no small part due to the support of our donors, partners, teachers, parents, and friends. From new program sites to expanded opportunities around the state, together we are opening doors of opportunity for girls in Montana.
Because of your support, our girls have the opportunity to gain vital skills needed for successful future education and careers. Our community makes this possible. You make this possible.
Thank you for listening to this episode. We will not be posting next week, but we hope you will join us again on December 6th for another episode of Code Girls on Air.